Hello and welcome to session number 9, Stress, Hormones, and Supplements to Boost Weight Loss. So today we're going to take a different approach. You now have many of the tools that you need to make good choices that support your body and support your goals. You know that fiber is key. We know about the impact of protein and fat and good, healthy, low glycemic carbs. Well, today we're going to look at those other areas that have a huge impact on our health and our weight and often go neglected or even sometimes unnoticed. So this is the part of the program where the rubber starts to meet the road. It's where you really want to focus in on what you're doing and what's working and really take a look at what's not working. And really, isn't that the key to life and success in general, is to take out things that don't work in your life and put in those things that do work? So standing in who you are, and really honestly, that's the only place you can stand when you're up to something big in life. What actions have you taken? So you want to take a few minutes to get present and write down there in your summary sheet what actions you've taken to this point, standing in who you are. Now you really have to look, because human beings tend to focus on what we don't do, what's not working, and where we're bad and wrong. And we don't take the time to really look at what we've accomplished. So what's your energy level today versus where it was the day you started this program? What about your ability to focus and concentrate? What about your self-esteem and who you see yourself as and the actions you're taking and the way you're showing up in life? What about your waistline? Have your pants gotten looser? Have you gone down a size or lost some weight? If you haven't lost the weight yet, don't worry, because typically you lose fat much quicker, but you gain muscle. So muscle weighs more than fat. So really look at what actions you've taken and what you've got. You've still got a major portion of the program ahead of you, and quite honestly, you've got the rest of your life, and that's what we're focused on. Secondly, have you chosen to live powerfully, meaning outside of that small, comfortable zone that we've created, that little box that we've created that we live in? Or is it still safer to live inside the comfort zone? Again, you choose, and neither one is right or wrong. But I promise you, what you want to accomplish in life that you've not yet accomplished exists out there. It doesn't exist over here in your comfort zone. It actually exists in a way of being that you haven't been before, in something to do that you've never done before, something to try on and believe in and go for that you've never gone for before. And that's what we want for you, is for you to experience achieving your dreams and living a fulfilled life. So are you present and are you conscious to what you want and why it's important to you? So if we focus on the day-to-day minutia, you'll get lost in the little successes and the little failures and the challenges and the overwhelm and the time constraints, and I could go on and on and on. But if you stay present and really conscious to what you want, you share it with people, you talk about it, you think about it before you go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, it's on your mind, and why that's important to you. That's what's going to continue to give you access to what you want. So again, there's been science done in this area and many programs that focused on goal setting. So goal setting is very useful practice. It does keep you focused. However, if you've been experiencing a sense of disconnection and disengagement, maybe in this program, or maybe in your business, maybe in your family, your health, your relationships, it's time to look away from the minutia, the doing and doing and doing, and the day-to-day challenges, and focus on the big picture. Why are you doing this? And why is it important to you? You keep yourself focused on that, and the actions will pull you forward. You'll be pulled into action simply by what you're committed to. So last week we talked a little bit about habits, and here's a powerful quote that helps confirm just how valuable habits are. You see, first we make our habits, and then our habits make us. So our life is a function of the habits that we've created and we've mastered. Last week we talked about how in the upper right corner it all starts with attitude, awareness of where you are, what you've got, what you've done that's worked, what you've done that hasn't worked. Then it leads to acceptance. If you continue to resist, you'll never get anywhere, and you certainly won't accomplish your goals and your dreams. Key piece of the puzzle is acceptance. I didn't say tolerate things that don't work. I said accept. Accept who you are, accept where you're at, accept what you've done and what you haven't done. And then the next piece is critical, and that's commitment. Again, commitment is not the same as attachment. Attachment is it has to go a certain way, look a certain way, and be a certain way. Commitment is it shall be, and I'm going to do what it takes for it to be. Then we look at knowledge, which is why you're in this Youphoria program, the right amount of information at the right time. Some of you may not feel you're ready for the information in this program and to make a change. That's okay, because you'll actually have this information for the rest of your life, and when you're ready, you'll make that change. Knowledge doesn't change performance. It simply is part of the puzzle in creating new habits and new skills. So what does impact performance? Not more knowledge. You see, there are many, many people out there with doctor's degrees and all kinds of education in psychology and in relationships, and yet their own families, their own families and their own marriages aren't working. There's also many, many people in the health profession, nurses, wellness people, who know what to do and know what it is to be healthy, yet they're grossly overweight and have many different health challenges. So knowledge in and of itself can be a trap if that's where you stop. The next piece is critical, and that's practice. And that's what I encourage you to do at the end of every session. I request that you take an action, because practice is what it takes. And in particular, practice with a coach, practice with a committed person who's committed to your success. Maybe even practice with someone who's in the same program you're in. But practice is key. Without the practice, you cannot and will not develop the habit. And then lastly is repetition. And we all know what that is. It's the lather, rinse, repeat. It's how we learn to wash our hair. It's how we learn to brush our teeth. It's why we get up and go to work every day. Because quite honestly, getting up and going to work for many people is not the most inspiring and motivating thing in the world. However, we've done it. We know to set our alarm a certain time. We know what to do. We know when the coffee is ready. We've created habits out of repetition, and now we could do it with our eyes closed. If you look closely, when you pull up to a light on your way to work and you're stopped there at the light, look over at the person next to you. They might even have their eyes closed. They might be doing this almost in their sleep. That's how habitual it has become from the repetition. And it takes at least 21 consecutive efforts to start to create a habit. So it is doable, and it is essential. So we're going to shift over to another part of the human psychology. You see, so many times in our life, we focus on what's not working and where our life doesn't sing and the things we don't have and what we're not and where we're broken. And we forget to really put our attention and our focus on what's working and what we have and what we're grateful for. So today's session and the exercise for this week is to start to focus on what you're grateful for, what it is that you're thankful for. It actually shifts your emotions, it shifts the frequency in your body, and as we now know, it actually shifts the cells in your body. Focusing on something positive, focusing on what you're grateful for actually impacts your body physiologically. So let's start to look at this. What are you grateful for inside of your body? Let's do this exercise together. Take a minute and just think about and write down what are all those things that you're grateful for inside your body. I'll tell you what, I'll share a big one with you. For me, is that I'm grateful that I have a digestive system that warned me early enough in my life that wheat and gluten was something that didn't support my body, such that I could make a change, and I'm healthy today because of it. Literally, I was suffering. I shared my story with many of you. I was starting to gain weight. I had a huge stomach. I was getting brain fog, no energy. In fact, going for a walk around the block one time, I had to stop and rest. Now, that's unusual for someone that's athletic and in the kind of shape that I'm in. But I realized that I had a gluten sensitivity. So that's one of the things that I'm grateful for, is that my body, actually, I listened to it. And it told me that, you know what, wheat and gluten was not in alignment with what my body needed. So I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful that I've got 2 arms. I'm grateful that I've got 2 legs, a beating heart. I tell you, I'm really grateful that I have the ability to put together programs like this and listen to people and to coach them so that they can make changes in their life. And that's all part of my body. I'm also grateful for my family. So what are you grateful for inside your family? Now, we all have parts of our family that don't work. We also have areas that we wish were different, but take a minute and focus on all the things that you're grateful for. And you could start with being grateful for your mother and your father. Now, even those of you that have challenges, maybe haven't spoken to your mother and father in years, they are the source of your life, literally. They are the reason you're here. And I've started a practice that a friend of mine shared with me, and that is that I call my mom on my birthday and I thank her. I thank her for my life, because without her I wouldn't be here. And my father has since passed on, but I'm grateful for my family, with all the things that work and the things that don't work inside the family. What about your finances? What are you grateful for inside your finances? You know, and you might be thinking, well, there aren't a whole lot of finances, so what is there to be grateful for? Well, I'll tell you what, we live in a very rich country. We live in a country where we can create anything we want. We have a roof over our head. We have food on the table. We have clean water. That is unusual. Look around the world. We are a minority. So what are you grateful for inside your finances? What about your gifts and skills? Each one of us has gifts and skills. So we don't always use them, but we have them. So take a couple of minutes, pause this presentation, and really get present to what your gifts and your skills are. And really think and look deeper. And when you get stopped and you're stuck and you're done, keep looking, because you could actually spend the next several hours and still be writing. That's how many gifts and skills you have. What are you grateful for inside your opportunities? The opportunity to be free. We just celebrated Independence Day. The opportunity to go to work, to get an education. The opportunity to eat healthy and have healthy water. What about the opportunity to exercise our free rights and things like that? Many, many different opportunities. So what are you grateful for inside of opportunities? And lastly, what are you grateful for inside your health? What are all the things that are working for your health? Now, again, I know it'd be easier to focus on what's not working. That's another program and another presentation. What are those things that are working inside your health? Do you have a heart beating? Is it strong? Okay. Maybe you have some health challenges. Great. This program will actually impact that. What's working inside your health? Take a few minutes and really get present to that. You see, doctors and scientists all over the world concur that the relationship between the mind, so your emotions, and the body is inextricably intertwined. A thought is always accompanied by a cascade of cellular changes. So every thought, every emotion is always accompanied by physiological changes in your body. Therefore, think positive. Create what you want. Stand inside of being a creator versus a victim, and your body will react accordingly. Feed the negative thoughts, and find yourself depleted of vitality and vigor with little to no shot at fulfilling your dreams. It is very clear. So please, if you haven't taken advantage of your emotional release sessions, please contact us to get those set up. You see, people spend 70% of their time steeped in stress, anxiety, and frustration. So we're going to take this presentation today to really take a look at that, to look at what's the impact of the stress on our body, what's the impact of the anxiety and the frustration on our weight, our sleep, our health, our relationships. I can tell you there is a huge impact, and in some cases we're just not present to it. So to experience true health, release trapped emotions that keep us stuck and learn to master your thoughts and your mindset. Mastery requires practice. It requires failing. It requires falling down, getting back up, falling down, getting back up, just like you mastered riding your bike when you were a kid. So master your thoughts and your mindset to focus on, listen carefully, what you want instead of the past failures. You see, we dwell in the past. We are obsessed and consumed with focusing on the past. And then what we do is we take the past and we put it in our future so that we're actually living into a future called more of our past. When you focus on what you want and you keep your mind and your attention and your actions focused on what you want, you can achieve extraordinary results. You can achieve miracles. We become what we think about most of the time. So that key statement right there can give you access to something powerful. What are you thinking about most of the time? And remember, all the techniques we covered in the session 5 and 6, stop, shift, and go. So when you're thinking about something negative or you're starting to worry or you're starting to stress, stop yourself, interrupt it, do something different, and then go. You can also just tell yourself, stop it. I did this yesterday. I was coming back from New York, missing my family because I had been there visiting them for a week, and I was experiencing depression. And I even got a little teary-eyed and started to cry. I definitely started to feel sorry for myself. And just in that moment, I just said to myself, stop. Stop. It's okay that you're sad, but enough with being a victim and being depressed. That's not going to work. It's not even what you're committed to. So I literally got myself up, went out back, played with the dogs, came in, and shifted everything. So we become what we think about most of the time. And remember, our thoughts are actual biochemicals created in the brain and the mind that create emotions. So this is not something that's just hypothetical. There's actually biochemical reactions in the brain and the mind that are creating emotions. That's why it's so critical for us to take advantage of and release the trapped emotions, because emotions also get stuck in cells. What kind of cells? Fat cells. And do you get that? That if these emotions got stuck in our brain cells, we very likely could go crazy, and some people do, but emotions are more likely to get stuck in fat cells. That's why it's key to releasing them. So what would you rate your level of stress? Let's take a minute and start to look at what's really going on. We live in a world that is a fast-paced, go, go, go world, and there's things coming at us from every different direction. How would you rate yourself out of a score of, let's say, 1 to 10, with 10 being a high level of stress and 1 being no stress? Maybe you meditate 4 or 5 hours a day and you spend your time walking on the beach and you experience very little to no stress. What would you rate yourself? And what role does stress play in your weight and your health? Because isn't this what we're really interested in? You're in this program because of your health and possibly because of your weight. So what role does stress play in your weight and your health? Well, it plays a huge role. And the rest of this presentation, you're going to discover all of the things that are impacted within our health and our weight by stress, anxiety, frustration, and fear. These are some of the things that happen when we're stressed. We skip meals. Or maybe the other side of it is we become an emotional eater. We reach for something fatty, something salty, something sugary when we're stressed. Maybe lack of sleep. When we're experiencing stress and anxiety, we don't sleep well. And trust me, that impacts your health and your weight in a huge way. We're going to cover just a little bit of that later in this presentation, but trust me, you could do the research and see that lack of sleep is a huge contributor to weight problems and many of the health problems. And the last role that stress plays is it keeps you stuck. So it keeps you stuck. It keeps you where you're at. Why? Because you worry, you get frustrated, you get stressed, and you go nowhere. When people are in that state, they often take no actions. And with no actions, you get no results. So take the next couple of minutes, pause this presentation, and do the exercise on the impact of stress in your life. So first you want to note, what are those areas you stress over, or you have anxiety or frustration over? And there is no right or wrong answer, so just write down everything you can. I mean, there's times I stress over my dogs. If they're not feeling well, I think, what's going on? What's wrong with them? Should I take them to the vet? I stress over everything. I'm human. You do too. So start to write down all those areas that you stress over. Then next to that, in the next column, write down the impact or the potential or possible impact that you believe stress might be having on your life. So do you sleep well? Do you have extra weight that you're carrying around the midsection of your body? You know, are you stopped in fulfilling those things that really matter to you? What are all the impacts of stress in your body? And when you're ready, push play and begin the presentation again. We see chronic stress is connected to weight gain and is connected to a whole host of other things. You see, as you see on the far left there, as stress goes up, something called cortisol, a hormone that we talked about last week and we'll cover again this week, also goes up. Well, what happens then? Leptin, yet another hormone that's critical, goes down. In fact, your leptin sensitivity decreases. Your hunger goes up, your fat storage goes up, and guess what? That's right, your weight goes up. So chronic stress is directly related to weight gain, not to mention many, many health challenges and even diseases. So look at some of the early stress consequences. So very early on, when there's stress available in your life, and again, a little bit of stress is a good thing, as we'll talk about later, but too much stress, not so much. You can experience lethargy with even a diminished sex drive, maybe a clenched jaw or grinding your teeth. If you hear people say, you grind your teeth at night, that's a consequence of stress in their life. Maybe some breathlessness or chest pain. You can experience weight gain or weight loss when you're stressed. Maybe headaches or migraines, high blood pressure, chronic tiredness. So people who are tired all the time could be a function of stress, and skin problems as well as indigestion. Okay, and as we mentioned, insomnia is one of the most common problems that people experience when they're under stress. So long-term stress or distress consequences can be even more impactful and more limiting and more dangerous. It can lead to obesity, depression, type 2 diabetes. It can lead to more flus and viruses and various illnesses in your body. It can also lead to heart disease and strokes, as well as many other challenges, too many to mention. So long-term distress without dealing powerfully with it, not avoiding it. It's not that you can avoid stress, it's that there are things you can do to actually have your body react powerfully and positively to it versus shutting down and getting sick. Now there's also connection between stress and food. So for example, there are many different changes that happen when you eat food, and food can impact stress, stress can impact food. So one of the things that happens is there's an increase in the stress hormones of adrenaline and cortisol. There's also an increase in blood sugar and cholesterol, again, related to food and stress. There's an increase in heart rate and blood pressure, accumulation of toxins like carbon dioxide and lactates. There's even emotional changes due to the change in your brain chemistry. Food can impact that, stress can impact that, and both of them together, without a doubt, impact the brain chemistry. Gastrointestinal disorders like irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis all are connected to food and stress. Suppression of the immune system, which can lead to all kinds of things, including getting sick. So I want you to take a minute and just get present to the impact that stress has on your life and your weight. Okay, so there is a response to stress. It's called the fight or flight, and it's cortisol. You see, cortisol is that hormone that's released in our body, produced and released, which provides what we call the fight or flight hormone. It's a response to stress. You know, if there's a big tiger coming at you, you've got to run, or you're going to fight the tiger, one or the other. Now, it is an important hormone, and this is one thing you want to really get present to. It's very important, and it's actually it's secreted by the adrenal glands, and it's part of every human being. And elevated levels of cortisol, as you've seen from past presentations, can lead to a whole host of problems in our body. You see, cortisol is critical for proper glucose metabolism. It's important for regulation of blood pressure and insulin release for blood sugar maintenance. It also impacts the immune function and the inflammatory response, so it impacts inflammation in our body. Now, small increases of cortisol have some positive effects. So I don't want you to think cortisol and stress are all bad. If we experience no stress in our life, we'd probably walk out in front of a bus and probably get hit because we wouldn't have that fight or flight to actually react and get out of the way of an oncoming bus. So a quick burst of energy for survival reasons is actually quite positive and quite necessary. Heightened memory functions are a result of small increases of cortisol, as well as a burst of increased immunity. So there is a positive side to small increases of cortisol. The problem is we get high levels of cortisol and it's actually out of control. There's also a lowered sensitivity to pain when you have a small amount of cortisol in your body. So what do? We know we have cortisol, we know we have stress, we know we have anxiety, we know there's fear. Well, just like we talked about in the last presentation with fear, it's not that you avoid fear, it's that you deal powerfully with it. You see it for what it is. You actually get present to that it's not real. And you take actions anyways. You reframe it to be an adventure versus a scary, horrible, avoid at all cost situation. So just like that, with stress, there are other things we can do. Not avoid it, but actually deal powerfully with it. And that is the counterpart to the fight or flight response is the relaxation response. And this occurs when the body is no longer in perceived danger and the autonomic nervous system functioning returns to normal. You can actually take on practices that create this relaxation response versus staying in a heightened level of stress ongoingly, which has such a negative impact on your body. Chronic stress and cortisol contribute to weight gain and health problems. Let's take a minute to look at how they contribute to weight gain. You see, in your metabolism, too much cortisol can actually slow down your metabolism. Not a good thing if you're trying to maintain your weight. Too much stress leads to cravings. Too much cortisol leads to cravings. People experiencing chronic stress often go for fatty, salty, and sugary food. Chronic stress impacts your weight by storing fat. You see, higher levels of stress are linked to a greater level of abdominal fat, which has a greater effect on health than fat stored in the other areas. And cortisol and stress also impact your blood sugar. Prolonged stress can alter your blood sugar levels, causing mood swings, fatigue, hyperglycemia, and of course, too much stress has also been linked to metabolic syndrome. So chronic stress and chronic levels, high levels of cortisol, not a good thing. Now they also are connected in that they can lead to emotional eating. So when you're stressed and you're highly emotional and your cortisol levels are up, you might experience what that woman there experiences. A candy bar would make me feel better. Problem is, the excess nervous energy can often cause you to eat more than you normally would. And not only eat more, do you notice when we're stressed we don't reach for snap peas or green beans or carrots? What do we reach for? Candy bars, salty potato chips, or something highly fattening. This was really cute, so I just put it in to give you a little something to think about. Stressed is desserts spelled backwards, so that gives you an indication right there. How many of you reach for desserts when you're stressed? Now, another thing that happens when we're stressed that connects to weight gain is we go for fast food. Why? Because people are too stressed and too busy to make healthy dinners at home. Pretty obvious. You might even fall into that category. So what do we opt for? Fast food. We're also too busy to exercise when we're stressed. That impacts weight gain. You see, Americans live a sedentary lifestyle. Most people sit at a desk job, yet our minds seem to be racing from everything we have to do. So our mind is going a mile a minute while our body's not moving at all. Stress can also lead to unhealthy lifestyle patterns, which then, like a vicious circle, lead to, you guessed it, more stress. So stress leads to unhealthy lifestyle patterns, which then leads to more stress. Drinking too much coffee, eating the wrong food, skipping meals, mindless munching. I love that. Mindless munching. I actually fall into that category quite a bit, where I just start eating and eating and eating and don't even know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. Forgetting to drink water, so key to our health and to maintaining our healthy weight. And yet, when we're under stress, first thing we do is forget to drink water. We also reach for fast food and get frustrated. And then what do? We go on crash diets. You know, those yo-yo diets, starve ourselves, lose weight, gain it back. Go off carbs, lose weight, gain it back. Go on a no-fat, low-fat, don't work diet, lose a little bit, gain it all back. And lastly, it impacts blood sugar imbalances. Stress leads to blood sugar imbalances, which leads to more stress. Now, there have been studies linked to stress and weight gain. So let's take a minute and look at the difference. See, men and women are a little bit different in this effect. Women's waistlines are affected by more types of stress according to the studies that they've done. So women are highly impacted by stress and more or less in the waistline area. Women also added pounds when they grappled with strained family relationships and feeling limited by life's circumstances. So take a minute and look at what's the stress and or the weight gain in your life. What do you think it's attributed to? Well, in the study they did, as far as women went, when there was strained family relationships or feelings like they were limited by life circumstances. Maybe it's taking the kids all over the place to soccer practice, making sure the homework's getting done, going to work, washing clothes, fixing dinner, whatever the things are. And I'm just kind of describing more or less my mom, who raised four of us girls. You know, she had a great life and she was an extraordinary mom, but I never stopped to think of all the things she was dealing with and how she ever found time to do anything for herself, because she was always so busy taking care of us and working, and my dad worked as well, but it was really my mom who was getting, you know, the house situated and the clothes and the dinner on the table, breakfast on the table and such. So what about men? How are men different, and how do they deal differently with stress, and how does stress in their life impact their weight gain? Well, among men, the lack of decision authority at work and lack of skill discretion was associated with greater weight gain. So it didn't have anything to do with family relationships. It had to do with lack of decision authority at work. This was found in the study that they recently did on the difference between men and women and stress and weight gain. So this chart's also pretty interesting. You look at the time frame for women, which is in maroon, that it's the highest percentage of stress. If you look closely, it's actually between 7 and 9 a.m. and then again at 7 and 9 p.m. Well, why would that be? Why would women get the most stressed at 7 to 9 a.m. and 7 to 9 p.m.? Could it be because the average family has children and you're getting the children up and ready and out the door, 7 to 9, getting the house ready, getting whatever you need done, and then at 7 and 9 you're doing the homework and you're winding down, cleaning the house, doing a load of laundry? Men, on the other hand, look at when their levels were highest. Their levels of stress was between 3 and 5 p.m., right toward the end of their workday when they're probably finishing up with meetings and having to make work-related decisions. So what do? We've all got stress. It's not going away. There's anxiety, there's frustration, there's fear. It's all part of the human experience, because you see, animals don't really get stressed about where they're going to eat. They just go out and get what they need to do. You know, a tiger or a lion is just going to go out and kill its prey and eat. So it's not really stressed about anything. It's human beings that stress about things. So what can we do? Well, one of the most powerful techniques that is a relaxation technique is called meditation. Very powerful. And there are many, many studies done on meditation and many, many research pieces written about the positive effects of meditation. So I encourage you to look into this and start simple. Just using the Kaizen method, start simple and start to, early on in your day, close your eyes, let everything go around you, and just start to meditate and practice meditating. Maybe buy a tape or a book to teach you the basics. Another powerful relaxation technique is called deep breathing. Very, very powerful. In fact, anytime you're stressed, I encourage you to try this one on first. Deep breathing. It can be very effective and can help lessen the impact of stress on your body. Another one of my favorites, in particular Bikram yoga, is another relaxation response technique is yoga. Many, many people are starting to turn to yoga to deal with the stress in their life. And again, it has very positive impact on the levels of stress. And then lastly, let's talk about a number of different stress management techniques. And there's a lot of them out there. You use the one that fits for you. Maybe time management. Have you noticed having better management around your time actually lessens the impact of stress in your life? I've actually even participated in a program called Mission Control. And I've gotten these tools that I can use to manage my time. And I can tell you this, when I use the tools, it takes a lot of the stress off of me around time management. What about reading a book? Social support, so being around your friends. What about gardening? Do any of you garden as a stress management technique? Exercise is a very powerful technique, and few take advantage of it, but it's very powerful, as well as music and even just going for a walk. All of these are techniques that work, so find what works for you. Now, there's also a relaxation response technique called emotional release work, and that is the work that I have studied for the last several years and that I have become certified and able to do with clients and with people. It's very, very powerful in releasing trapped emotions that have gotten deep in your subconscious and actually lodged in your body, and they're impacting your health, your weight, and the things you have and don't have in your life. So here's a few stress-related tips to help you with regard to your weight. Before eating something, ask yourself, why are you eating? Are you eating because you're hungry or because it's dinner time? Great. Are you eating because you're bored? Well, go for a walk. Go do something else. Pick up the phone and call someone. Are you eating because you're stressed? Go out back, take a couple deep breaths, and come in and get back to work again. If you're tempted to eat when you're not hungry, disrupt it. Create a distraction. This is the one time that a distraction is very effective and very powerful. Identify comfort foods and get rid of them. I quite honestly just got rid of all the candy and junk in my house. Why? Because I reached for it every time I got stressed. I literally would get frustrated at the computer, get up, walk to the pantry, grab a candy bar or something, salty foods, come back, eat it, and guess what? The problem was still there. It didn't disappear. All I did was gain a few pounds. And then lastly, engage in regular physical activity or exercise. I tell you guys, this is one of the best, most effective ways to deal with stress is to find something you can do, anything you can do that's physical. You can also practice relaxation skills, as we mentioned, like yoga, meditation, and even massage is also a valuable technique. And of course, get adequate sleep. That's got to be one of your first priorities. So are you getting enough sleep? Sleep is critical to maintaining your weight. So if you're not getting enough sleep, we need to address that issue. You see, hormones are released during sleep. It's very, very important. Hormones are released. In fact, the human growth hormone is released during sleep. It stimulates growth and cell reproduction. It builds muscle and burns fat. It keeps your skin young and it keeps your bones strong. Human growth hormone declines as you age, and if you're not getting enough sleep, you are messing with that hormone, and it is not going to be a positive effect if you don't get your sleep under control. There's another hormone that's released during sleep called leptin. We've talked about this last few presentations. It is that hormone that is the appetite suppressant. It controls hunger pains and controls carb cravings. You've got to get adequate sleep. That is absolutely critical because leptin, which impacts the hypothalamus and also impacts fat tissues, by the way, is messed up when you're not getting enough sleep. Sleep loss can lead to weight gain. 63% of American adults do not get 8 hours of sleep a night, and that's what they say we should all be getting. And the average adult gets about 6.9 hours of sleep on weeknights and about 7.5 on weekends. So as a society, we're not getting enough sleep. So how does sleep loss lead to weight gain? Well, scientists have found that sleep deprivation increases the levels of the hormone ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, and it decreases the levels of leptin, which we just talked about, the hormone that makes you feel full. You see, guys, if we didn't have these hormones in our body, we would either, one, never eat, because we wouldn't be hungry. So if we didn't have ghrelin, we would just never eat. If we didn't have leptin, we would never stop eating. And many of you that are overeaters and you eat and eat and eat and overeat and you reach for food even when you're not hungry, guess what? It's because your leptin hormone has been impacted, and potentially because of sleep. You see, ghrelin, the appetite stimulating hormone, and leptin, the fullness hormone, have been called the yin and yang of hunger. So they go hand in hand and they actually work together. Ghrelin is the accelerator for eating, leptin is the brake. Both of them absolutely critical, and both of them impacted by cortisol, stress, and lack of sleep. So key hormones for weight loss that are impacted by sleep. Are you starting to get the picture here? If you're laying awake counting sheep or you're not getting enough sleep, you're actually impacting your body and you may not even know it. So what are the other areas or the ways or studies that have been done around sleep loss and weight gain? Well, they did some studies, and they've actually done a lot of studies in this area. The sleep-deprived subjects, so the subjects who experience the greatest level of sleep deprivation with the biggest hormonal changes. So their hormones were all over the place, hugely impacted, and they were sleep deprived, said that they felt the most hungry and they craved carbohydrate-rich food. So this is an actual study that verifies what they said about sleep deprivation leading to issues with the leptin, which is the hormone that controls your hunger, and that you will crave carbohydrate-rich food. So why are we sharing this with you? If you're hungry often and you're craving carb-rich foods, you're almost addicted to them, you really want to look at your sleep and look at the level of hormones and see what can be done in that area. So let's look at another way to deal with stress and weight gain. So what's the number 2 way to battle it? The number 1 way was sleep and to control your stress levels through cortisol and through healthy eating and sleep and balancing your hormones. The number 2 way to battle stress and weight gain, what do you think it is? What jumps out at you? Just look at those pictures. What do you think the number 2 way to battle stress and weight gain is? Well, you might have guessed this. It's low glycemic index eating. Yes, there's tons of science and tons of research that supports not only the powerful benefits of low glycemic eating on your weight, but also on your health, and it impacts your stress as well. You see, the greatest effect on cortisol spiking, which we know is not good, is high glycemic foods. That is the greatest effect of cortisol spiking, is high glycemic foods. And you see the piece of bread there to the right, which is perfect for what it does to your body. You see, all hormones have a delicate balance, and stress and food affect all of the hormones. I'm going to repeat that. Stress and food, the food you eat, and your ability to handle stress and deal powerfully with stress affect all of your hormones. So what's an effective way to battle stress and weight gain? So it's not going away. So what are some techniques? What can we do to battle stress and weight gain? Well, you can exercise. Now, I know this may not be for everyone, but if you increased your level of activity and your level of exercise even a little bit, it would have a powerful effect on your hormones, potentially on your sleep, for sure on your waistline, and likely on the health issues that you're dealing with and faced with. This is an exercise guideline to just get us started. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about exercise in the later sessions, but just to get you started, if you are interested in maintaining healthy heart and getting fit, which is the very first one, you want to start out at light exercise, which is 50 to 60% of your max heart rate. Again, we're going to go over all of this in a lot more detail in a later presentation. This is just to get you started and to dispel some of those myths around exercise. Because, see, some people think you've got to go out and sweat your brains out to get benefits at all. That is not the case. So maintaining healthy heart and getting fit, light exercise, 50 to 60% of your max. To lose weight and burn fat, which is ideal for weight management, you want to be at about 60 to 70% of your intensity level of your maximum heart rate. So you want to be going a little bit harder. So not just a slow, light, gradual walk, something a little bit more, maybe involving some weights. And then, of course, if you want to increase your stamina, you increase it even higher. If you're into fitness and optimal condition, and even higher. And then elite athletes work out and function and at an intensity level between 90 and 100% from time to time. So what are some of the other areas where we can look at reducing stress? Well, number one is feed yourself well. It all starts with food. It really does. Eating balanced, low glycemic meals that include vegetables, protein foods, fruits is probably your easiest, most effective way to reduce stress in your body. Number two is give up suffering and sacrificing the forbidden foods. And what do I mean by that? Choose wisely and learn to tune into your body what you really want, not the junk that you think you want because you can't have it. So don't suffer over something. If you want something, eat it, but eat it in a small portion. Maybe eat some fiber with it, and don't eat the whole bag. Eat a small piece of brownie rather than the whole pan of brownies, but give up the suffering. That increases the level of stress rather than decreasing it. Move your body regularly. Exercise. It's a tremendous stress reducer, and the feel-good benefits literally kick in almost the moment you start moving your body. You will feel better. And stand for who you are. Huge in reducing stress. Stand for who you are. You are not your thoughts. You're not your past. You're not your failures. You are who you say you are. And negative self-talk has a tremendous power to knock you off track and increase your stress. So it's not about perfection, and if you're stuck in that world, that doesn't work. It's not about perfection. It's actually just time to make the time. How many of you out there don't have the time to eat healthy? How many of you out there don't have the time to go for a short walk or to go do some deep breathing? Or how many of you don't have time to do yoga or meditation? Well, I suspect it's actually time to make the time. If not now, when? There's never a time like right now. And what could be more important than your own health? So let's shift gears and talk a little bit about herbs that can help you with stress. So stress is there. We know we need to deal powerfully. We know we can do yoga, meditation, deep breathing, shift the way we see things, shift our thoughts and disrupt them to more positive things. But what about some actual supplements or things that we can take that actually will physiologically help reduce stress? Well, there are supplements, and I'm going to share some of them with you later in this presentation. And one of the powerful ingredients in many of those supplements is something called rhodiola. It can be effective for improving mood and alleviating depression. It may improve physical and mental performance, alleviate fatigue, and even reduce high-altitude sickness. Another herb that's very powerful is called ginseng. And ginseng is an adaptogen, which means it has the ability to help the body adapt to mental and emotional stress, fatigue, heat, cold, and even hunger. So ginseng is one of the main ingredients in some very powerful, very effective supplements that help people deal with stress. So when you're reducing stress, a couple of basic things to remember. Take time for yourself every day. I cannot tell you, this is probably the most neglected, most critical factor in dealing with stress and health, is to take time for yourself. You know, we will give everyone around us all the time. We will make sure they're provided for, make sure they're taken care of, yet we don't take care of ourselves. We don't take time for ourselves. So my coaching to you is take time for yourself. Start with 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, and then gradually build yourself up. Get a massage. Buy yourself some fresh flowers. I used to be one of those people that would laugh at people that would buy flowers for the dinner table. And I would say, who would waste their money on flowers? I thought it was crazy. Guess what? I'm one of those crazy people now. I love having fresh flowers. It does something for your psyche, the smell, the colors. It actually brings something alive into the room, and it just adds beauty and a state of peacefulness for me. Listen to music or a relaxation CD. Read. A lot of people actually read to reduce stress. Take a long, relaxing bubble bath. Wow, who does that? Well, people who are interested in reducing their stress and interested in their health. Maybe do a crossword puzzle or take a walk. Simple, simple, simple. Better yet, walk your dog. That way your dog's getting a benefit and you're getting a benefit. And if you don't want to do anything like that on your own, do it with a friend or join a yoga class. It's one of the easiest, most effective uses of your time that reduces stress. So your metabolism is affected by, or your metabolism affects your weight. Weight changes are regulated by metabolism. So is not metabolism key? It is. It's all about your metabolism. You see, your metabolism is the control of fuel in the body. That's what metabolism is. It controls the fuel in your body. So the fuel, which is the food you eat, gets processed by your digestive system, and part of it's used to create energy for you to go out and live and do things and breathe. The rest is excreted. That energy can either be used right away, so you're running to catch a train, you're using that energy, that's using the metabolism, or it can be stored as fat for use on another day. The problem? Yeah, you can see it. It's that too many of us have too much of that fat stored for another day, and it starts to accumulate, and then we have the weight challenges and the issues that we're facing today. So the magic controller, so pulling the levers of your metabolism, what is it? What's actually controlling your metabolism in your body? Do you know what it is? Take a guess. It's your thyroid gland. You may have heard this before. Your thyroid gland is absolutely critical in your metabolism and how your body uses and or stores fat. Well, when hormone levels become too low or too high, you can experience a wide range of symptoms affected by the thyroid gland. The thyroid produces hormones that control the speed of your metabolism, the system that helps your body use energy. And it's that little butterfly-shaped thing right below your chin, as you see in the picture there. Thyroid disorders can slow down or rev up your metabolism by disrupting the production of thyroid hormones. Now, the thyroid makes hormones that help control everything from heart rate to blood pressure to body temperature and weight. 27 million Americans have some type of thyroid disease. 50% are undiagnosed. That's huge. Most people don't even know they have thyroid issues. And if left untreated, it can cause high cholesterol levels, heart disease, even infertility, muscle weakness, and things like osteoporosis. So you can see the thyroid gland is a critical gland, and the hormones made by the thyroid are huge in helping the body with everything from heart rate to blood pressure to your weight. So what are some symptoms of thyroid problems? Well, weight gain or weight loss, swelling in the neck, changes in heart rate, changes in energy or mood, even hair loss. It's a very common symptom of thyroid problem. And then feeling too cold or too hot. And did you know that a thyroid imbalance can lead to 59 different diseases? So it's a really critical gland in your body. So what are thyroid hormones? Well, thyroid hormones stimulate the metabolism of cells. They're produced by the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland removes iodine from the blood, which comes mostly from your diet, such as seafood, breads, and salts, and it's used to produce thyroid hormones. So essentially iodine is critical for producing these thyroid hormones. Some would say once we went on the salt-free kick as a society, we started seeing more thyroid problems because the iodine was being taken out of our diet. So you want to be aware of that and even get your thyroid checked. So what is hypothyroidism? There's two different kinds of thyroid issues, hypo and hyper. We're going to take a look at hypothyroidism first, and it affects about 1 out of 4 women. The thyroid gland produces too little hormone, so it's just not producing enough hormones. It's also caused by something called Hashimoto's. The most common cause is iodine in the diet. And the symptoms, fatigue, cold, depression, weight gain, sometimes a hoarse voice is a symptom, mood swings, muscle cramps, dry, coarse skin, and even forgetfulness, all can be part of hypothyroidism. Other symptoms, dry skin and brittle nails, numbness and tingling in the hands, constipation, heavy menstrual periods, and when left untreated, hypothyroidism can raise your cholesterol levels and make you more likely to have things like strokes and heart attacks. So pretty big deal if we're not dealing with this thyroid disorder. And in severe cases, very low levels of thyroid hormone can trigger even a loss of consciousness and can be life-threatening. Can drop your body temperature and cause serious heart problems and even brittle bones. Now, what is hyperthyroidism? So we just talked about hypothyroidism. What is hyperthyroidism? Well, the body has too much thyroid hormone, overactive nodules and lumps in the thyroid, and the common symptoms include weight loss, changes in vision, sleep disturbances, muscle weaknesses, and a large thyroid. And all you need to do is a blood test, and it can tell you whether it's menopause related, these symptoms, or thyroid disorder, or both. So a blood test can tell you whether or not, if you have those symptoms, whether or not it's related to menopause or a thyroid disorder. What causes it? Something called Graves' disease, and there's also functioning hot nodules or toxic goiters, excessive intake of thyroid hormone, so you're taking too much thyroid hormone, abnormal secretion of something called TSH, thyroiditis, and that is inflammation of the thyroid gland, as well as excessive iodine intake. So this is too much iodine intake. Symptoms? Well, this is the issue. There's lots of symptoms. There's actually several. No symptoms for mild hyperthyroidism, so therefore it often goes undiagnosed. And the symptoms can become more obvious when it progresses. In older patients, there can be irregular heart rhythms and heart failure. There can be, if untreated, and there's severe hyperthyroidism, it can result in what they call a thyroid storm, which is a condition involving high blood pressure, fever, and even heart failure. And there can be mental changes such as confusion and delirium that can also occur in more of the severe cases of hyperthyroidism. Here's a few of the lists of other symptoms. And you can see why it's part of a problem diagnosing because of all the symptoms. Excessive sweating, heat intolerance, increased bowel movements, tremors, sometimes fine shaking, nervousness, agitation, rapid heart rate, weight loss, fatigue, decreased concentration. So there's a whole lot of symptoms. My recommendation is that you get your thyroid checked if you have any or all or many of these symptoms, and you just get it checked to see where you're at. So one thing you can do that you can do on your own, very easy to do, and by the way, very effective. You can actually check your own basal body temperature in the morning. That will tell you whether you potentially have an issue with your thyroid. Now, I had a nurse teach me this technique, and it's actually very useful. So what you do is at night, you get a thermometer, and you shake it down. So you just shake the thermometer and you put it right next to your bed at night. In the morning, as soon as you wake up, and it's critical that you do this immediately when you open your eyes, put the thermometer in your armpit or in your mouth, but take your temperature for 10 minutes. If you are a woman who is menstruating, you want to start this on the second day of your menstruation. Okay? Temperature should be between 97.8 to 98.2 degrees if the thyroid is functioning normal. Lower temperatures may indicate a hypothyroid condition. So it's a good indicator for you to check on your own before you just run off to the doctor and think that maybe you've got a problem with your thyroid. So we're going to take a look now at some of the things you can do that are tools or supplements, ways to supplement some of the challenges you're facing, some of the issues that you're dealing with. There's a powerful supplement called stress, thyroid, and adrenal gland support. It's actually nicknamed ACTS, A-C-T-S. It stands for adrenal, cortisol, thyroid, and stress. And this product acts as an adaptogen, meaning it impacts the hormones that are affected by stress. So it essentially balances and has the hormones level out that are impacted by stress. And it also helps the body adapt to stress and stabilize mood. It can help minimize certain stress-related issues like weight gain, difficulty sleeping. It can help support normal hypothalamic pituitary adrenal function, as well as help promote healthy levels of cortisol. It also can help maintain healthy levels of serotonin and dopamine, very, very important. It can help maintain normal thyroid function, promotes relaxation without drowsiness, and it supports and improves mental clarity. I've got a client that participated in the last Youphoria program that has been using this product, and it makes a huge difference. I myself have used this. What better thing than to address your stress, your thyroid, your cortisol, and your adrenals than with one powerful, effective supplement? Now, we've talked in the past about the importance of CLA, conjugate linoleic acid. We've talked about how it's found in grass-fed beef and how it's also found in grass-fed butter and cheeses, and how it's got huge weight benefits and huge health benefits. They have a supplement that is based on high levels of CLA. And CLA is for individuals, and particularly with stubborn belly fat and lower body fat in your thighs, your hips, and your butt. So if you've got fairly normal body fat in the rest of your body, but you've actually got what I would call a big gut or fat in your belly, this may help decrease the amount of fat stored and promote lean muscle mass. Now, I have found this product very effective, in particular with men. I'm not sure why. It's just most of my clients, the men, have seen extraordinary results when they've used this product. And I've had women see results as well. My experience has been the men, it's that belly fat seems to shrink down to almost nothing. So CLA provides best results when combined with moderate exercise. So if you're not going to do any kind of movement at all, or movement activity or exercise, you may not want to go for this one. If you are, on the other hand, willing to go to a gym or willing to go for walks or do some light weights or anything where you're moving your body moderately, this is great for getting rid of the belly fat. And it's also a great maintenance supplement. I sometimes will have clients go on this after they've lost a lot of the weight, just for maintenance purposes. So if you have a pear-shaped body or you're a yo-yo dieter, this is also effective. So pear-shaped, yo-yo dieting, also effective. Now remember, the benefits of CLA go way beyond just the loss of fat. In 2005, they did nearly 300 studies, and they were published on the impact of CLA, and it showed that the spread of cancer cells was actually slowed down when CLA was added. It also helped stop bone loss in postmenopausal women. It helped calm the inflammation of asthma, and it was linked to lower rates of colon cancer and boosted immune function. So they did a number of these studies at Georgetown, and as you can see, CLA goes way beyond just burning fat. It actually is healthy for your body. That's why I'm such a big fan of grass-fed meat and grass-fed butter and grass-fed cheese. CLA is also extremely effective at reducing that fat in the midsection of your body. In fact, a trial was published in the British Journal of Nutrition where they took 118 overweight people and they divided them into two groups. They gave one group about 3.5 grams a day of CLA. They gave the other group a placebo. What do you think the result was? Well, those assigned to the CLA group lost more than 3% of their body fat. Huge. 3% of their body fat compared to 0.1% in the placebo group. So another supplement that you may want to consider adding at this point in your program is called thermochrome. And it's got something in it called Advantra Z. What is it appropriate for? Well, individuals who need help controlling their appetite. So if you're one of those people who still hasn't been able to get your appetite under control, you may want to try the Advantra Z, the thermochrome with Advantra Z. It's also for individuals wanting to maximize their fat loss. So they want to burn the most amount of fat, increase their metabolism, and they want more energy. This is a great product for all three of those. People who need serious metabolic support and individuals who want increased energy. It's also effective for people who have trouble controlling portions. So when you see salad bar, you think, wow, I'm going to eat everything I can on that salad bar. So if you're in that boat, you may want to try thermochrome. It's also beneficial for people with low energy levels. Even though you tend to be eating the right kinds of foods, like low glycemic foods, and you still have low energy levels, you may want to try thermochrome. If you have a slow metabolism and you want to boost that metabolism, thermochrome can help you do that. And it's basically a blend of 14 different ingredients that add in what they call thermogenesis and lipolysis, which is fat burning. And the last supplement I want to share with you, again, very effective in helping boost and take you to the next level, especially if you've hit a plateau, is called CORE. And it's a fat and carb inhibitor. It supports leptin sensitivity. Remember leptin, the hormone we talked about how it gets messed up when you're under stress and you're not sleeping right? And essentially, it's a critical hormone which helps to manage hunger and stimulate this fat burning. It helps promote appetite suppression. It helps promote a feeling of fullness. So when you take this, you actually feel full if you do eat a carb rather than going back and eating the whole bag of carbs. And it reduces fat stored in the body. It also promotes the reduction of your BMI, your body mass index. It helps promote weight loss, slows the absorption of carbs into the bloodstream, which is a good thing. And it helps maintain normal blood sugar levels, critical, as we know, in weight management. And it helps promote normal insulin activity. It helps with normal cholesterol levels. And I highly recommend you try one or more of those supplements if you feel you've hit a plateau or if you're just not getting the results you want at this stage of the program. So just contact us and we can send you more information on that. And as you know, participants in the Youphoria program get a 20% discount on these supplements. So you can also go online and find them. You're just going to pay a lot more for the supplements. So there's other factors that also affect weight management. Let's take a look at that. You see, studies show that higher calcium in your diets favor burning rather than storing fat. Did you know that? That higher levels of calcium in your diet favor burning fat rather than storing it. Calcium changes the efficiency of weight loss. And this was done at the Nutritional Institute. So the hypothesis then is that the brain can actually detect the lack of calcium if you're low in calcium, and it seeks to compensate by spurring food intake. So that's the hypothesis, is that your brain basically says there's not enough calcium in the body, and it actually has you want to take in more food. So shifting gears over to more things that we can do, more steps we can take and products we can add to our pantry that help support our health and our weight. Let's look at healthy oils. One of the most beneficial, healthiest oils we've discovered to date is coconut oil. Why? Because it has lauric acid, and that is a miracle ingredient. It helps with the body, it helps with inflammation, it helps with everything. In fact, I use coconut oil not only in my meals and to fry with, because it allows for a high smoke point. I use it to clean my face at night, believe it or not. I actually put coconut oil on a cotton ball, and that's how I clean my, and then I go to bed with the oil actually still on my face. Olive oil, very healthy. It's a monounsaturated fat. As we all know, everybody's heard olive oil is good for you. However, did you know that you are not supposed to heat olive oil? So it's good for salads, but do not raise the temperature too high. It actually turns carcinogenic. Now, most people have never heard that. So store that away somewhere in your mind there. Do not heat olive oil. Use coconut oil or use walnut oil, another one of my favorite oils. It's a good source of omega-3s, and walnut oil, as opposed to olive oil, is good and can be used for high heat, for sautéing, frying, baking, and even salads. And another one of my favorites is avocado oil. Just like avocados are good for you, avocado oil is also good for you. It's got a high smoke point, it's loaded with omega-3s. Almond oil is another option, very high smoke point, meaning you can heat it. Great option. And then lastly, flaxseed. Do not heat the flaxseed. It's a good source of omega-3s. You can add it to salads or add it to dishes, but you do not want to heat it. Okay, so the ones you can't heat are olive oil and flaxseed. The rest can be heated. By the way, fine restaurants, really expensive restaurants, tend to use oils like walnut oil because it's a very crisp, clean oil, good taste, not greasy. So if you pay, you get what you pay for, and you can actually use this oil at home and make your own meals taste better. So looking at extra virgin olive oil, you see high heat makes this oil very susceptible to oxidative damage. That's why you don't ever want to heat it too high. And extra virgin olive oil contains chlorophyll, and that accelerates decomposition and makes the oil go rancid rather quickly. So, given that, you want to either buy small dark bottles or small cans of olive oil and go through it quickly, meaning within a couple of months. Do not go to Costco and buy the big Mac Daddy, 5 feet tall thing of olive oil. Problem is you won't use it fast enough and it'll go rancid. You want to use olive oil within probably 2 to 3, no more than 4 months. And you can also add a drop of something called lutein into your olive oil, and that will actually have it last longer. So you can explore that option as well. What are your worst cooking oils? Well, they're the ones that we use most of the time. The processed vegetable oils, corn oil, canola oil, soy, safflower, and sunflower. Those are the oils that are not healthy. They're high in omega-6s, and bottom line, they're just not healthy for you. The polyunsaturated fats, those oils we mentioned, are the absolute worst oils to use when cooking because of these omega-6 rich oils, and they're highly susceptible to heat damage. So not only are the omega-6s not good for you because you get too many of them anyway, the second piece of that puzzle is that they're highly susceptible to heat damage, which makes it nasty for your health once it's heated. And what do most people bake with and cook with? Canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, especially people on limited incomes, messing with their health and their weight. Damaged omega-6 fats are disastrous to your health, and they're responsible for more health problems than saturated fats. So you've heard them talk about how horrible saturated fats are. Problem is, saturated fats are nowhere near as bad as these damaged omega-6 fats that are from the oils that are usually a result of high heat and, again, too many omega-6s. That's a bigger health challenge than saturated fats are. So do not use margarine or shortening when cooking. And you've all heard my story about how, try it yourself, take a tub of margarine and stick it outside. Flies won't even land on it. Okay, it's not a real food. So why would you put something that's closer to a plastic in its molecular structure into your body? Why would you do that? So you didn't know before now, and you know now. So you can powerfully choose. Use butter. It's not going to affect your weight. It's actually going to help your weight if it has CLA in it, if it's grass-fed. And it's also going to help your burn fat in your body. So we're coming to an end here for this session. And I wanted to share with you something that Deepak Chopra has said. And I've listened to many, many of his CDs. He's one of the most fascinating, enlightened speaker, very wise, talks a lot about levels of consciousness. And actually, a lot of what he talks about in his presentations is much of what we teach in Youphoria. And he says, you won't know what your brain can do until you test its limits. So I encourage you to continue to test your limits. How strange would that be when we were young if we never left our house? When you left your house, you were testing your limits, yes? And a whole world opened up to you. Well, leave the little house, the little box that you've got yourself in that you find so comfortable, and just test your limits. Go outside of that, meet new people, try new things, try new recipes, take on new actions, and see what gets produced. Your brain is amazing. You are amazing. You can do so much if you get out of your own way. So this week, notice where you experience stress and what happens when you experience that stress. So you might want to have that handout sitting next to you. Just notice when you experience stress and notice what happens. What actions do you take? Do you reach for salty things? Do you reach for sugar, candy? Okay, what do you do? Maybe you crack open a beer. I don't know. What do you do when you experience stress? What's the trigger for you around stress? And then the next step is critical. Take one action, just one, you can take more if you want, to reduce your stress level. Just one action. You've got a whole bunch of them there. Deep breathing, reading a book, going outside, going for a walk, calling a friend. Take one action to reduce your stress level. Join a yoga program. They are awesome. And then continue to do what works. Add fiber, add protein, add low glycemic foods. You now know after today's presentation that low glycemic foods is absolutely key to keeping stress managed and cortisol levels where they need to be, and it's absolutely critical for your weight and your health. So why would we not do that? Low glycemic foods is literally your access to what you want fulfilled. So in closing, I want to acknowledge you for staying the course in this program. You know, it takes an extraordinary person to put their health at stake and to do the things that you need to do to actually take risks in making some changes in your life. You know, we are creatures of habit. And we are addicted to things, you know, and then there's companies out there adding things, chemicals that make us even more addicted. So the fact that you're here, you're in the game, you're taking on euphoria in your life, you're taking new actions, you're taking those things out that don't work, the sugar, the high glycemic foods, the trans fats, the margarines, the bad oils, the negative thoughts, the fear that keeps you trapped. You're taking all that out and you're putting in what works. And it is your access to having what you want in life. So focus this week on what you want and then go after it. Focus on what you want and go after it. You know, kids are great at this. They're amazing. Just watch a child. They'll want a candy bar or they'll want something in a store and they will keep after it and keep after it and keep after it and keep after it and keep after it. And then even when you get home, then they'll still say, you know, I really wanted that candy bar. And then the next time you go to the store, guess what? They start all over again. They are relentless. So be a kid this week. Be relentless for what you want and go after it. And above all else, believe in what you're doing. Believe in yourself and believe in what's possible. Because I believe in you, and I know that Youphoria is your access to your dreams fulfilled. So have a great week. I will be thinking of you. I will be standing for you, and I'm here to coach you if you need support. So take actions and go fulfill on your dreams.